Technology.
Hello, welcome to Coffee with CLIPA. Today's our special Friday edition. Cheers. We have Melody Edwards here with us from
Hi.
Renew Window Cleaning and Renew Holiday Lights. And who knows what else she's doing, just everything. She's got so many plans in the works. So I'm Stacey Aguirre with CLIPA, Director of Sales and Marketing, and with the Christmas Light Installation Pros Association. And what CLIPA does is provides business owners opportunities to learn about installing Christmas lighting, both residentially and commercially. So we have training programs that we put on every month. This year we have virtual and we have in-person regional trainings. So we're super excited to have everybody join us. And our wonderful guest, Melody, is a CLIPA certified installer, a CLIPA member. She's on board with it 100%. She came in and we're so happy to have her. So we want to hear a little bit about Melody, talk about business, talk about how her entrepreneurship life and all of that good stuff. So go ahead, Melody, introduce yourself. Tell us about you. What about your business? Everything about you.
Okay, well, that was a lot. Yeah, I'm Melody. I live in Western Massachusetts, and I was actually in the window cleaning industry for over 25 years. I had a window cleaning company that I sold maybe 7-8 years ago, and then there's a second one that I'm in the middle of selling. And last year I started Holiday Lights thanks to thanks to an adventure, and I love it so much. That's one of the reasons why I decided to sell the window cleaning company, because I love Christmas lights so much. Everything about it, the creativity, the short season, it's exciting. What else is there about me? I'm kind of like a business nerd. I love business and all things to do with it. Drives my husband crazy, but I love finding new ways to be efficient in business. And it was kind of excited to come into the Christmas world and take my experience and be able to have a fresh start in it. So that's about me.
That's great. So you said you just started with Christmas lighting this last year. So when did you take our training, the CLIPA training?
So actually, I had my employees take the training 2 years ago. And I was planning, that was 2019. And I'd been talking to a friend who had a company locally for 20 years. It was all commercial. And I'd always wanted to do lights, but I wasn't sure, just how to get in. It's so mysterious, right? So
yes, we keep it all a big secret.
Yeah. It is. So he decided to move to Florida with his family in 2019, and we started talking, and he offered to sell me his company. So that was like an amazing blessing to me to be able to enter that way. He was running it kind of like a lot of us do at times, which is it was kind of just no marketing, no anything. He did only commercial accounts. So last year I started getting into residential, and that's kind of how I started finding CLIPA. That was like, I'd seen other people in my business coaching group who were in CLIPA, and I talked to them and they'd recommended it. So I took the training in August last year, and I had to go to a hotel for 2 days because I'm super ADD, and I knew I needed to completely embrace everything about it and learn everything. So I just went away, and it was 20 hours. It was so much information, and well worth it. It was just the best thing that I did for our business.
Awesome. Yeah, we pack a lot into those couple of days of training. Yeah. We try to just get it all in there.
It was.
Yeah. Are you planning on coming to a regional training this year where we're going to be out in person anytime, or have you thought about that?
Yeah, I've thought about it. I'd like to do that. I think, I got trained by the former owner of my company. So it's kind of cool because he taught me all the old school ways of doing things and all these tricks that I think a lot of people might not know or do anymore. And then CLIPA was teaching me how to run it like the way I run my window cleaning business, with all of the business training and, all of these weird things that are different. Like window cleaning doesn't have inventory, Christmas lights does. So it's like a lot of new stuff that I had to learn, but I'd like to do the training in person at some point this year. It would be good. Depends on COVID stuff, of course.
Of course. Yeah. We have trainings coming up, and then we also have the CLIPA conference coming up in
Yeah.
May as well. And so that's something, of course, where if everything goes well as planned, with the Trans World Christmas show,
Yeah.
then they're working with the local um, city agents there to make sure everything is COVID safe, right? So there's distancing, there's masks required, there's spacing. I'm hoping that's the case. That's what we're shooting for, because we love to see everybody in person and get to know people. That's kind of how this business began, is just us meeting up in person. Oh, and we have Josh Trees watching. Josh says hi, Melody. I don't know if you saw that come through. Yeah, he's from WeHangChristmasLights.com.
Yeah.
So great partner of ours. So all right. Hopefully we get to see you regionally. See, what else was I going to ask you about? All right. So when you started in the Christmas industry, you said that you had a book of business already from this other company. It's a commercial company. But you also did residential because you learned how to do that in our CLIPA sales training. So how many homes did you do last year? Do you have a number? Do you know how many you did, or how many projects?
So we did, the majority was our commercial business. I think we probably did about maybe 20 homes or 30 homes. It wasn't a lot. I knew, because I was still running the window cleaning company, because I was also homeschooling or sharing homeschooling duties with my husband, like so many things going on, that I knew that I couldn't just, and I made like this promise, like, oh yeah, it won't be a big deal. It's just another added little business that won't, but it of course took over my life during that time. So I'm glad I didn't expand beyond what, we took on. But so that was like enough for me last year. I really love commercial work a lot. I just love like the creativity, and bringing joy to lots of people at once is something I really enjoyed about it. But I'm going to keep trying to go into both ends of it.
Yeah, that's good. It's good to have to be able to do both, and to know, just to have it all figured out on all sides for yourself.
Yeah.
How many employees do you have, like, currently with your businesses? Do you have a lot, or do you hire?
Well, so we're off season for both businesses. Usually for window cleaning, I have between 5 or 6 employees. For Christmas lights last year, I hired 2 full-time people. One of them acted as operations manager. So, and I had him kind of go through a lot of what I had learned at the CLIPA training. And I just wanted somebody responsible for taking care of all the big things, which he did. And then I had my window cleaning crews come in to do work when we got too busy. So that was enough for us last year to be able to make it through. And so next year, though, I have plans to hire and grow a lot quicker than I did last year, just having the experience of last year. And hopefully I won't be homeschooling and doing all those other things by the fall. We'll see.
Yeah, that adds such an extra layer of stress and work.
Yeah.
Just work. And even though I love being home with my son too, during last year, during the COVID, it's like I was, it's really nice to just get back to normal maybe someday.
Totally. Yes. So that's like one thing that's different, I think, about my business than others. A lot of people who start off probably start with themselves in the field. And just from my business background and a lot of the coaching, I'm in a business coaching group as well, the Conquer program. I've been able to figure out the way to keep myself out of the field last year as much as possible. And I kind of tried to build it that way so that I can sub when I needed to be, or I can be an extra hand, but it wasn't relying on my labor alone. And that is what allowed me to be so like flexible with my son's schedule and my husband's work schedule and everything.
That's good. Yeah, that's really important. And that's part of being your entrepreneur mindset, is that, yes, we know that we can do the work ourselves, but we need to be able to put ourselves in the position to be most useful to our company. And that's not really having you out there in the field pushing the people around, managing all that. That's not your spot. Although, you could, if you need to, right? You can jump in at any time.
It's like my favorite thing is working with my hands. So it's a little bit of a punishment to not be able to go out and do it all the time. But I don't know. I've turned my yard into like an R&D lab for Christmas lights and
nice
experimenting. So that's where I put my labor.
Well, maybe sometime you can go on our Facebook pro tips forum and do like a live little video of you doing your R&D. Love
Yeah.
stuff like that on there. Yeah, you can
Yeah.
show the other CLIPA pros what you're up to.
Yeah.
Give them some inspiration to do their own thing like that. So, do you advertise for your business at all? Like, have you done any advertising locally, or what do you do?
So my area is very specific. You know, on the East Coast might be very different than the South or other places. So having an understanding of my window cleaning customer base, I know that a lot of them listen to NPR, National Public Radio.
Nice. Mm-hmm.
And the average customer or target market for them is a really high income bracket. And anytime I'd gone to customers' houses, you always hear NPR playing. So I knew that if I was going to advertise in the radio or somewhere, that would be like a great market to advertise in. So I did some of that. I also did We Hang Christmas Lights last year as well. And then I did have somebody working on my Google ads for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I put a lot into it for the first year. And it definitely made me money. I think because it's such a new industry in my area, people didn't even know like that this is a real business. Like,
Yeah.
you know, my friend never advertised. So Christmas, you know, holiday lights just magically appear on trees and cities around us. And
yeah, nobody knows. It's like, wow, it's up.
How they get there. So
you're the magic maker.
Yeah. So that was kind of like my mission is I have to get to be more known. I know that this year I'm going to be doing a lot more with like Instagram and other things I've put off doing just because it's more stuff. But
so are you going to hire somebody for that, or are you going to do it yourself, or what do you think for your social media?
I'm probably going to be hiring a virtual assistant. That's something that basically besides my operations manager, there's no way I could have done it without the VA that I hired to help me with my businesses last year.
Yeah. So the idea of having a virtual assistant for a lot of people, I know in this industry as well as in the window cleaning or other industries I've talked to, it's really something new, or especially for people who have been on their own entrepreneurship line. They've just been really pushing and doing all the work themselves. And I know with your Conquer group, you learn a lot about how to delegate off and how to take time for yourself. And you're the owner, you're the CEO, like you do your thing. So a VA is like a new language, I think, for a lot of people who may be listening right now, or that maybe they know, but it's new for me. So can you tell me a little bit about how that's helped you and what that experience has been for you this last year?
Totally. So I'm not new to the virtual assistant world. This was the first year last year where I had full-time virtual assistants working for me. In the past, I had done a lot of hiring for tasks like from Fiverr and Upwork. And I didn't really think of those as being VA tasks. It was just kind of like, I'm hiring somebody on Fiverr to do this thing or whatever. So some people might be familiar with it from that end of things, like having, you know, gotten a logo or something. I think from being a female business owner, I have maybe a different perspective. I love doing everything myself and micromanaging all the details, but delegation has had to come to me early, especially because I have a family and there's a lot of things that I'm trying to do, you know, to be present for my kids and my husband. And so it's like a huge balancing act. There's no balance, but that's why I'm much more willing to delegate than I think a lot of people. I haven't always been like that. I love being a workaholic. I'm a recovering workaholic now, that's what I call myself. So last year, with the help of my business coach or the encouragement, I started looking at different sites like Upwork, and my favorite is onlinejobs.ph, which is a company that's basically for Filipino workers. And I found oh my gosh, she's like my right-hand lady, my favorite human, Bernadine, who I call Dean. And she made everything happen. She's like a doer. One of the cool things about finding help in the Philippines is that the people there speak English really, really well. It's their second language, I believe. I might be wrong on that, and there's a lot of people who work as virtual assistants from the Philippines. This is something that they've built in their country for a long time. So they're kind of trained. There's schools for training VAs over there. They're very good at what they do. And like I had two virtual assistants last year, Jonah and Dean, and they were very driven to do tasks. And it can actually be very overwhelming as a business owner when I'm more like I like to procrastinate and wait on things till I feel that pressure and then do it. And they were like, okay, this is done. What do I do next? So it takes a lot it's a little scary at first to like hand over things to people and who aren't you. And then also to have to train them to do the work, because a lot of times it's just in your head. So it's hard to figure out how to train them. So that's something I worked on a lot last year with great success.
That's good. So what advice would you give anybody who's thinking of getting a virtual assistant or wanting to be able to do that with their business? Like, what would you tell them?
Well, the very first thing I would say is you have to start. For instance, a VA can handle emails. For instance, they can go out, clean out your inbox, mark things that are urgent for you. Eventually, you can have email templates and they can send those out for you or even draft them for you. It might not seem like a big deal, but when you have a lot of emails coming in, it can take hours to do that work. So if you can start by just getting a software program like Loom or something that will allow you to video your screen, you essentially are making training videos while you're doing the work that you're already doing, whether it's like taking phone calls from customers or going through your email box. That's how I started doing it. And that changed everything for me once I realized how easy it was, because before that I was writing documents. Writing is hard for people to, reading and having to, it's just a lot different than having a video that just shows you how things are done.
Definitely.
So I'd start by documenting things, just simple things that you're doing in your business, even just one thing, one general thing. And then once you're used to delegating one thing, it'll be easier to start with more.
That makes sense. That's cool. All right. So let's see. Last year, like we said, you started with the Christmas industry. Did you have to turn anyone down? Any clients down last year because you were too busy or because you didn't want to work with them, or
I'm trying to think of that. I feel like there are probably a couple people I wish I had turned down, but I did not. I will tell you that everybody said, do not work with people who have their own lights. Use your own product. And
we've said that quite a lot.
Yes. So I had to learn that for myself, but I had one person who's a friend. So that's why I did it for them. So it wasn't like it was an awful experience because I knew them, but their lights were just difficult to work with. They weren't easy to like get up because they were used. Some of them worked, some of them didn't, the usual stuff that people will run into. And it really confirmed to me in a gentle way, like, okay, that's not a model that you will ever be using. But most of my customers were like really great. They love it. It's just so fun to bring people like the magic of the holiday season and the joy that they feel. A lot of it's like so like they're thinking of their childhood and like how special it made them feel. And last year we definitely needed lights, and we still do. I'm still putting up lights for people. So,
a lot of people want lighting right now for different events, and people have outside seating now at restaurants, and all that stuff is happening as well. And all the different holidays coming up, a lot of people I know in CLIPA are asking us for the color changing RGB permanent type lighting and how to get the roof lines lit. Then they can change it for every season. Something that we're working on getting a package together for our CLIPA members to be able to work easily with it and have instructions, because there's so many options out there for RGB. Did you work with any of that last year? Any RGB projects?
So I took the training in the quick training in the CLIPA training.
For Holiday Dynamics, right?
Yeah, I think that's what it was. So I knew that I needed to really focus last year on just getting the business stuff right, getting the systems in place before I like up my game in that way. So it's definitely something I'm super excited to work with, but I know that I'm not like it takes me a long time to adapt to technology and, and I want to make sure that I'm in a mind space to be able to use this stuff and know it and teach my employees. And so I'm waiting for this season, hopefully, to get into that.
That's good. Yeah, there's, like I said, there's a lot of different options for that type of product, and it's great to provide that to your customers for a year-round lighting and also for just different events. So it's cool to have that on the side ready to go. So do you you said that with the commercial projects, I'm going to backtrack for a second. With your commercial business you got into, he never advertised at all, right? But that you did Google, you had somebody doing your Google AdWords, you said, and then you had also someone handling your social media, but you didn't do a lot of that, or?
Yeah, honestly, the season was so chaotic, so quick. I had heard that it would be, but I didn't understand what that meant until I was living it. And so all of the things I had set up, and also because we were still running both businesses, all of the things I had set up, like, you're going to be in charge of social media and you will do, videos every day. That quickly went away because there was just like, we all had a million things we had to do every day. So
the scramble.
We tried to keep up with social media. Next year, 100% somebody's job is just going to be social media. So virtual.
I'm sure you had so many really cool things that were happening on installations and when things were done and the projects look great. But I know for me, like, I'm so exhausted by the time everything's up, I can't really enjoy it. I'm like, okay, it's done. I'm leaving. Like, I'm done with this project. Because
that was definitely an issue that we ran into last year. I did, for some of our really cool projects, I did put one of my employees on, like, okay, you have to make a TikTok video or whatever of this thing. And so
you have TikTok?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, I need to do TikTok because everyone's on it. But I feel too old.
Get addicted.
I feel too old. That's all.
No, I feel too old too. And I've really avoided it for. Oh, I totally get this. This is why I can't. I have an addictive personality. So I really try not to be like staring at TikTok all day because I could. It's very fun.
Oh man. Okay, we have a question from Nicholas Judge. He said, thank you so much. If you have time, can you talk about your commercial clients and how different it is for commercial versus residential? So I know you can probably speak on this a little bit if you want to.
Yeah, it's interesting because I don't have the perspective of knowing how. I'm sure a lot of people start with residential, and I'm coming from the other end of like having to build that up. And so even in window cleaning, commercial and residential is very different. I would say with the commercial work, I didn't get back all of the contracts that the person who owned the business before me had. But I started by, with an introduction and talked about what we were going to be doing and what, because they didn't know me. And just most people were great to work with, like very easy to work with. The one thing that could be an issue at times was with commercial, I couldn't always get a down, a half, 50% deposit, especially for the cities because they're not allowed to. But they would be able to pay me when we were starting to install. So there were ways around it, but we did a couple city jobs, and if they're $20,000 jobs, you're sitting on an inventory and labor and all this stuff. So it was like a balancing act of having to manage the money for that, especially with the inventory that you have to buy. One thing that's really helped me with money, because I am not a finance person in a natural way, is the book Profit First. That really changed my mindset about how I deal with money and so I would really recommend that if you're getting into commercial, especially, and you're going to have issues maybe with handling the financial end of that, since you're not going to get the money up front sometimes, that you look at that as a way to manage. If you're like I am, which is, I don't really care for money that much. I'm trying, but yeah.
Well, thank you so much for that. And I totally agree that that's one of the things that does come up with commercial projects is if it's a city, they'll send you a PO and then you'll know the money's coming. But most of the time they won't give you a deposit. So depending on the size of the job, you may have $10,000 invested in it out of pocket. And that's just unless you have that money just floating around, you have to look at your investors or get a loan or things like that. And that was always the case in my previous company, where it was constantly, we were floating a lot of different millions of dollars was floating out there, and we don't know where it's at. We know it's coming in, but it's out there. So that happens. But it's, again, you, in order to get to the level where you want to be at, whatever level that is for income, you have to be able to put it out there. No, cities are going to pay their bill unless you like completely mess up the job. And then even then you're contracted to pay it anyway. So you're going to get the money. But
I can tell you about a time that I did mess up a job this year, and we did get our money, but it was, we had to do lift work. I'm certified as a boom lift operator. And I think that's another thing. You really should get certified and learn boom lift work. And we have bucket trucks too. That's one thing that I had that many other companies might not have.
Yeah, this is really helpful with commercial jobs.
Oh my God, I love them. They're my favorite thing ever. But so we had this 85-foot boom that went into this town green, and it broke the sidewalk. And even with putting like plywood underneath and taking precautions, it was kind of a disaster. Kind of. The town worked with me, and I had made a connection with somebody who actually does Christmas lights in that town, who didn't want the tree I was doing because it's a pretty crazy tree. But he has a landscape company, and he went in and tried to fix it up for me. So I ended up not really losing anything from it, but it was a big reminder about how things can happen, and you have to be prepared for, I think the town was happy with how we resolved it, but it was definitely a moment of stress for me. And also commercial's cool because if you just do a good job, they're happy. They don't want to deal with all the details, whereas residential is a lot more detail oriented. People care. They feel like they're putting up a lot of money for something and they want it to be perfect, which I understand. So I think commercial is easier in that way.
Yeah, the projects can be a lot more complicated as far as equipment and manpower and materials and timelines and schedules, things like that. But it does work out better in the long run because it's not their money. Like that's how I've seen it. It's not their money. They're only invested. It's their job. It's their like image in whatever if they're the city manager or whoever, then it's their image. It's what they're bringing towards their profession, not their home. Right. So that's a big difference. I've always loved, my favorite commercial clients were like some city people and some theme parks I've worked with, like, cause they're excited. Like they're usually like, they're like the cheerleader. They're out there saying, we want to do this and that, and let's get it done. And
totally.
And it becomes like a fun project.
Well, and I love holiday lights. I love it so much, like the lights and everything. So I think that really comes across when I'm talking to these customers too. They know that I'm doing something I'm passionate about, and I want to succeed for them. I want to make their image or their vision come to life. And actually, I did lose a contract last year that was kind of a big one. They didn't go with me. They went with a local company, and they actually, at the end of the season, called me to come back because it had been a disaster for them. And I'm going to be taking on that contract next year. Okay. So it's kind of interesting how you might not get a bid one year, even maybe your price is high or whatever, but if you portray the right image and you're really professional, it can come back to you.
Definitely. I always know from history that commercial projects or city projects do take like 18 to 24 months a lot of the time just to get them put through. So be patient. Like I always tell people who are going in the commercial industry, like, make your lists of your local places and keep calling, know who's in charge, ask the questions, just keep getting in touch with them, because when they need you, they're going to know that you're there. And if you're professional and you provide information, like we put together that quick holiday lights PowerPoint thing, I think, for you this year. But if you have something that looks like that shows what you can do, what your capabilities are as a lighting company, even if you don't have a lot of commercial work under your belt, like I can help other people do that. Like if they say, oh, I want to promote my company and put a little packet together, like I can help do that packet like I did for you. And just getting that in front of somebody.
Yeah. Can I just say, you were a great influence for me. You were so helpful in the beginning, just by talking about, or just by showing me that in packet, and turning me on to Canva. It
Canva,
totally
I love it.
changed. Yeah, it changed the game for me, and it's all because of you. Because I was able to create a packet for all customers that we used, and my VAs would help with the estimates using the CLIPA app, and then and measure through Google Earth. There's so many things a VA can do like that. And then they would put the house, they do the image with the lights of what it's going to look like into this template. So it was way more professional than I probably would have come up with on my own, but it was really cool. And so thank you. You were
Yes, you're welcome. I love that. I love it because I'm new to Canva too. I found it because I needed out of necessity of doing something quick on my own. At my previous company, we had an entire art department where I could go there and say, okay, I need these presentations or that, and they'd get it done. It looked amazing, but sometimes, especially for residential or some smaller type commercial jobs, they just want to see something, right? You don't have to have like a huge presentation for them. It's just, what am I getting? Here's your house.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it.
Perfect. But people like to see the vision. So it was pretty cool to be able to give that to people.
Oh, Dean says hi.
Hi, Dean.
Hi, Dean.
Prime.
She was talking about you.
Yeah, I was. So Dean
is your praises.
Yeah, she is my VA. She works with another person too, but you can find amazing people to help you if you're willing to let go of the control. And we're all control freaks as business owners. We all think only we can do it the best, but we don't grow like that.
Yeah. Yeah, we can do this much the best, right? But I want to be doing this much. Yeah, I'm currently with my sales, business coach. Oh, you met her too, Ursula. With my coach, it's all about the quantum expansion, right? So how can I get create more time, right? How do I create more time? And that has to do with just being able to be willing and open to allow new ideas in and accept the help that's out there, and then ask for the help that I need. Because without that, I'm just going to be here, right? And it's okay to be right here. You may be fine right here, but I like
exactly.
I want to be.
Don't give up after the first time, because I've hired plenty of people who did not work out. And if I'd given up, just like people who hire one employee, have a bad experience, and then decide I'm never hiring an employee again, you weren't set up for it. You have to set yourself up for success, and for the person who you're hiring.
Exactly.
Set them up for success. So
exactly. We have a couple comments in here. I'm being heckled.
Am I being heckled?
No, Dan actually said, Dan had to mute. Could you tell again about the visuals? So what Melody said was that she uses Canva, which she learned from me, which I'm being heckled about, because Courtney is saying she thought that I had found out about Canva because my brilliant friends introduced me to it, which would be my brilliant friend, Courtney. So there's that. So Canva is you can pay for it, or you can use it for free online. I prefer the paid pro version because you have a lot more options there.
It's Photoshop for dummies.
It really is. Yeah, really is. And so just check it out, canva.com, and Nicholas put it up there. It's totally worth it. It's very inexpensive. You can pay for an entire year up front, and it's totally easy. And then like Melody said, your VA could use it too. So it's just a matter of getting it set up for yourself and checking it out. Let's see. Oh, so do you want to talk more about how your presentations helped your sales? Maybe that's what Dan wanted to hear.
Yeah, I mean, and also just so you know, I'd be happy to share one of the ones that I used for a residential job, for instance, and I'll share it on the CLIPA group later, just so that somebody can see, because I know it is hard to envision something when you're just hearing about it with words. But so it really helped because, first of all of the information in the packet was already pre-made. So it's just, a sheet that talks about me as an owner, the company, what we want to give to the client. We had 3 different packages that we tried to offer people. And then and with the pricing, and it was pretty detailed. I will say that we're going to cut down on how much time we take this year for residential, but commercial, it was so worth it. Every time we did these, I 100% think it was worth all the time. For residential, once I get it down a little bit more, I would say like we could probably do it in 10, 15 minutes to do it really well. So, but having a picture of their house right on the cover with, you know, my assistant went into one of the apps, like, I don't know, Jolly Lights or something. There's some app that does lighting, and also Canva. You can just put lights on or bulbs on houses too. And then people could kind of see what it would look like. And they loved that. And it actually sold higher packages for me. One of the people ended up buying, I think, $4,000 worth of lights when their budget was maybe $1,500 to start with. And it was all about the vision. And, you know, they kept just adding on.
Yeah. And sometimes that's what it comes down to. I think I was doing our training last week with a new CLIPA training, and I went over a little bit more in depth about commercial projects. Yeah. And saying that if you don't show like the highest option, they won't even know what they can get. Right. Yeah. So it's like, you don't have to spend a lot of time putting it together, but you can say for this amount of money, you'll get this much, and then work backwards. Because some projects that I've sold in the past commercially, they
called me. I forgot.
Did you lose me? Your phone's on? Some people didn't even know like what was available until I showed them, okay, this is what it would be for, you know, $500,000. This is what it is for $200,000, and then just work backwards. And then especially with commercial people, cities or shopping centers or malls, because they're going to have Christmas every year. They're not going away. So, you know, you can put a 3 or 5 year plan together and just phase it in. And that way you are providing them the best service, and they're going to stick with you for 3 or 5 years because you have that plan in place. And you kind of have that like agreement between you two that you're going to work on it together. Absolutely. Right. And then the customer buys in. And it's a great relationship to have. You build those partnerships with the businesses out there.
You have to put the high price. I have, you know, some of us might have issues with like, oh, people aren't going to go for this or whatever, but you're not the customer. And people, this is such an emotional purchase for people. People love the holidays, and they will put money into that if it's going to make them feel a certain way. Yep. That's like a magical thing.
Yep. The feeling is the secret in Christmas.
It
really is. Yep. Definitely. All right. Well, yeah, Dan, thank you so much for asking us that question. And let me see if I have anything else. Oh, I had one really important question for you. So important. When you were younger, growing up, did you have a nickname, Melody?
Yes, I did. Obviously, it was Melody Smelody. It was not my preferred nickname.
I wouldn't have known. Not obvious to me.
I mean, it's obvious to every child who names their kid Melody. It's obvious it rhymes with Smelody. But people call me Mel, and they still do.
Mel.
Yeah. So I do want to offer something to people, because I've talked on the CLIPA page a couple times about VAs, and because it is so new to people, and because I've been doing it for a while, I have a sheet that I made of, I think it's like 30 tasks that a VA can do for you if you're willing to let them. That's how it should be. And, you know, you can hire a virtual assistant in the Philippines starting, you know, at $4 or $5 an hour, depending on their experience. It's very, very affordable. And in the United States, you can also hire somebody as a VA, and it might be, you know, $10 to $15 an hour. So there's all a range. But if they would like to get that, my friend put a quick web thing together for me called HomeProVA.info. So HomeProVA.info, to be able to get that document that I made for people.
HomeProVA.info.
Yes, it's all the words.
So great. And so hopefully we'll get some people on there, and they can download that information from that website.
Yeah, it's on a sheet. And if anybody has any other questions about it, like, I definitely I'm not an expert at this at all. Like, there's always going to be things that work and don't work, but I do have a lot of experience now with it, and I'd be happy to chat with people.
Great, Melody. Well, thank you so much for coming on for our Coffee with CLIPA Friday edition today. Our CLIPA certified member spotlight right here with Melody. Thank you so much for coming on. And do you have any final words for our viewers?
I don't know, actually. I guess, you know, I'm always up to make new friends. So if anybody would like to reach out and friend me on Facebook, that would be great. And, you know, if you have any advice for me, I'm always open to improvement. So,
Awesome. Thank you so much, Melody. And Matt said, thanks, ladies.
oh, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Stacy.
All right. So we'll talk soon, and hopefully we can have you back on here in a couple weeks. Maybe we'll get you back on to talk about how the year's going so far for you.
We'll
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank
Talk
you so
to you
much.
later.
Take
Bye.
care. Thanks. Bye.
Bye, everyone.